Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. As listeners to this podcast know, Dana White has a remarkable array of opportunities before her, including company-owned hair salons, franchise salons, salons on military bases, hair products, and point-of-sale software. But, especially since the pandemic, Dana has struggled to get traction. This week, special guest Ami Kassar, an expert in small business finance, guides Dana through a discussion of how she might prioritize those opportunities and get them financed. Ami and Dana consider such questions as, what should she do first? Should she continue to pursue franchising, where she's already sunk a lot of money? Or should she focus on opening company-owned salons at Fort Bragg and in Dallas? And should she be looking for an investor? If so, how important is it that she maintain control of the business? Or should she try for a bank loan? And if so, what kind of pitch is likely to impress a bank? As the conversation continues, a plan emerges. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which Inc. magazine recently named the best newsletter for business owners, and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining me this week on the podcast are Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a Detroit-based chain of hair salons, and Ami Kassar, who is founder and CEO of Multifunding, which brokers small business loans. The episode is titled, Fire Your Franchise Consultant. Welcome, Dana and Ami. It's great to have you both here. As regular listeners of this podcast know, Dana has a concept, which is a hair salon for women with thick and curly hair that has tremendous potential. She has some remarkable opportunities that are right within her grasp right now. But like most business owners, she has limited resources, which is why I invited Ami Kassar here to join us today to talk through those options and see what we can figure out, what might make sense for Dana, because she's got so much going on. So to start, let me see if I can quickly sum it up, Dana, and I'll give you an opportunity to correct anything that I get wrong. You are at the moment pursuing franchising. You have already a significant amount of money invested with a franchising consulting firm that is helping you prepare your offering, but you need more money to market that opportunity and attract potential franchisees. Number two, you have a contract with the U.S. military to open a company-owned salon at Fort Bragg, and you're in further discussions with the military to open additional salons at military bases, not just around the country, but around the world. Each one of those salons, of course, will require money to build them out, get them running. You have a company-owned salon that you are right now in the process of moving from Detroit to Dallas, which you are hoping will be a better market for your offering. And at the same time, you're also developing branded hair products to be sold in all of these salons, both the company-owned and the franchised. Did I get that right?
Yep, and there's one more.
Please.
The technology.
Oh, right.
Yes.
How could I forget? You have a software system that you use to run your salons.
It helps us operate a walk-in only hair salon.
You have something you're using now, but you're building something from scratch, or you're trying to develop what you have?
We have your standard salon POS system, but all the POS salon systems are appointment-based. And so we're doing a lot of data capture by hand. And what would really benefit this growth is if we had a tech solution that, manages internal and manages external customers and customers while they're in the salon. That would be great. And when I speak with people who develop technology, they said, man, your tech could in essence be worth more than the value of your company.
And do you have somebody working on this now, or that's something that you want to get up and running?
I have a company that I want to work with, but again, you need the money to kind of get them started.
There we go.
Yeah.
Have you totaled up how much money you need for all of these opportunities?
I have roughly about $13 million.
Okay.
Hey, Ami.
All
right.
Welcome to the conversation, Ami. What questions would you have for Dana? What else do you need to know to help her assess how she proceeds from here?
Let's slow down and break it down.
Yeah, let's do that.
Dana, tell me about your business as it stands today. I don't know any about your dreams, any of your future aspirations. What have you got today?
What I've got is a salon in Detroit that is struggling, not because we don't have a customer base, it's because it is really hard to get licensed cosmetologists here in Detroit. The staffing issue is huge here.
And what was your revenue at that salon last year?
Oh, wow. We never really quite bounced back from COVID. So I think it was about $200K. No, I'm sorry. We did. Well, it's $232K.
And is it open today?
Dana's in the process of closing this salon because of those struggles. She's got a location in Dallas that she's ready to build out. But also you should know that COVID had a big impact. The salon was closed for a period of time. It's had a big impact on being able to hire employees to work there. Much of her customer base doesn't come into Midtown where she's located the way they used to. So there's been a lot going on.
Okay. How long ago did you open the salon?
2012. So it's been 9 years. It'll be 10 in November.
And how was it doing pre-COVID?
Very good. We were close to $400 and something thousand in revenue with 2 locations.
And you were making money?
Yes.
Okay. And now are you at 1 location?
Yes.
All right. So let's get rocking and rolling here, okay?
Okay. You see my face. I'm like, okay.
Can I give you my first piece of blunt advice?
Yes.
Fire your franchise consultant. You're not ready to franchise.
I agree.
I don't know how much money they've taken from you or who they are, but the whole premise of a franchise is that somebody's buying into a proven concept, and your concept isn't proven yet. It might have been proven pre-COVID, but it's not proven in today's world. So put yourself in the shoes of someone who is potentially interested in buying into your franchise system, and they are going to say, well, how do those stores do?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, for the last 2 years, you don't have any kind of a clean answer to that question. So my first piece of unsolicited advice is it's time to put that franchise stuff on ice.
Yep. It's on the back burner. Absolutely.
Next question. Tell me about this deal to build this salon in the military base. What does it look like? How does it work?
Yep. So it's us. They came to me. And then because they had some safety and security concerns for some of their armed forces women on base, and they needed a hair salon that could cater to a wider market. They saw how segregated hair was with some of the other brands that they had, that they had thought to go to. But they said, your brand appears to be pretty diverse to us. You can do, all types of hair. And so would you consider opening on Fort Bragg, which is the largest installation we have in the United States? They don't have a salon there. Would you consider opening there? And so they gave me the numbers from what that salon did before they had a hurricane that hit, and the owner just decided not to come back. And so they hadn't actually found somebody to take that place. So they showed us the numbers, and we said, well, how did this do? And, the numbers were just okay. And they said, well, this is just with us opening the doors. There was no marketing. There was really no effort. And all of the stylists were just independent contractors. So it wasn't a branded salon. We expect you to do a lot better than this. We hope that you'll be able to do a lot better than this when you come in and brand it. And they're willing to help do that. They actually do the marketing. We just provide the content.
Okay, so how do the economics of that deal work? Who pays to launch the store? Do they have revenue share with you or anything? Is there real estate? Is there lease? Is there rent?
That's a great question. So AFES works at the pleasure of the DOD.
Explain what AFEX is.
AFES is the Army and Air Force Exchange. They're a very large company. And so they're the ones responsible for putting the exchanges on the bases. So in essence, they bring a little bit of home on base for their armed services people. And they have exchanges all over the world.
They're like the owner of a shopping mall, essentially.
Exactly. It's the mall on base. And so how it works is the exchange charges you retroactively a percentage of your last month's sales. So you negotiate what that percentage is, and that's how they make money. And then when it comes to marketing, you give them the content and they put it on the military television, social media, and exchange radio, which is all over the base. And then they'll help with hiring, they'll put the job postings out. They just help get the word out. But Dana and Paralee Boyd, this would be a corporate location and not a franchise ran by AAFES. So Dana would be responsible for bringing on your operations manager to manage these military locations and have managers and staff on ground to run them.
Cool. Where is Fort Bragg? I'm sorry.
Fort Bragg's in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, right. I should know that. Shame on me.
It's okay.
How much money do you think you need to get that location up, running, and going before it turns a profit?
$250,000, and that includes about 5 months of working capital. The number for that location is going to be a little less than the other bases because they have insurance money that they haven't spent for the hurricane that hit back in 2018. So they're, setting me up to, they're white boxing the space to my specs. They're waiting on drawings. And then we've got to get money to the architects to do that. And then once they have the drawings, they'll be able to set it up and then we can just come in and make it our own and brand it. So we're thinking about $250,000 before we're profitable.
Okay.
I've applied for an SBA loan to cover that.
Okay. And how's that going?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay.
Who did you apply with? Is it with a bank that you've had a relationship with?
PNC Bank.
Oh, okay. I didn't say that. Now.
You did. You really did.
What about moving the store to Dallas? What's that going to cost you before that turns profitable?
I have so many numbers going in my head. So right now, that's a lot cheaper because we've taken over a former salon space. And again, that landlord is amazing. So they're completely white boxing, doing everything I need to do in order to get in there. We've started a budget of $75,000 and we've just, gingerly chipped away at that. We haven't eaten a great portion of it at all. So it'll be tight. There's a lot of marketing going on that starts in June, getting the butts and seats. And we've got a good model. There's a direct competitor down there. And that's, she's been open since March of 2020. She had to close due to COVID. I think she opened up when the state opened up again. And that was in 2020. And she's on her third location. I was down there. I tried to couldn't get an appointment for 3 weeks out. So the demand is definitely there.
Where do you live?
I live in Michigan.
How in the world are you going to manage a salon?
I'm not. I'm going to relocate to Dallas.
And how in the world are you going to manage a launch in Fayetteville and a launch in Dallas?
Well, I have a team. So it's not just me. I have 2 ladies who work with me, and this is what they do. They were operations managers and regional managers and opening locations at Great Clips, Sport Clips, Lady Jane's, and PS salons across the country. So it's not just me.
Okay.
And I have a stylist trainer who will also be able to pop in and train the staff before we open. So there's about a total of 4 of us right now.
How much money do you need to turn this technology into something?
Upon speaking with that group, they said about $250,000. That allows for the app for the customers to use to see what the wait times are, if any, amongst locations. And it also allows for our use on the back end.
Who owns your business today?
I do.
100%.
100%.
What do you know and understand about technology and apps and all that stuff?
Quite a bit. I used to work in the IT world many moons ago. And so that's, but I don't. Well, it's not that I don't know enough to be a part-time chief technology officer. I just don't have enough bandwidth on my plate. So that would be part of this ask is, again, the staffing for somebody who can go back and forth with that company to get done what I need done. But been really able to hold my own in those conversations with that company to communicate what I want with their team.
How important is it to you to stay in control of your company?
That's a great question, and one that I've, been really thinking about. Initially, it's very important, but as we grow, it's going to be less important.
Okay.
And let me explain why, Ami. Because I have a very loyal customer base. And even the conversations I've had with private equity and private conversations I've had with VCs, they too understand that if this is not a Black-owned company too early, you lose your market share. That's part of the draw of getting people in the door, is them coming and supporting a Black-owned business, a woman-owned business.
So let me ask you a tough question. Let's just for a minute forget the technology option has gone away and the franchising option has gone away.
Mm-hmm.
And you have two options left on your plate: to expand into Fayetteville and do the military base, or expand into Dallas.
And do the corporate locations. And we also have the products too.
And the products away. We didn't talk about those, but we're going to put those aside for a minute too.
Okay.
And you've just got Fayetteville and you've just got Dallas. And you went to bed tonight and one of them disappeared overnight, so you only had one left. Which would you be more disappointed to lose?
Dallas.
Why?
Because it's a broader market. With military, although Fort Bragg is a very large base, it still only has a certain capture rate. And even though that capture rate, allows me to make more money than I was making in Midtown, and it allows for us to grow within the military. When you have a Dallas or a private location, people can come from all over. People can't come from all over to Fort Bragg's location.
Okay. Tell me about the products business. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
We have 5 products that we want to generate SKUs for. We've already talked to the white label company that we want to work with. And that's going to be about $30,000 per SKU. So it's about $150,000. That's the other part that's exciting about the military. They have already agreed to put our products in their exchanges, not only on the basis that we have salons, but in other bases as well, where they see the sales could be high. So products in any hair salon is the moneymaker.
But what does the $30,000 get you? In other words, what do they do for that $30,000?
Yeah, so it's private label, private formula generation, and then you get so many units. You get thousands and thousands of units. So we'll have thousands of units on deck that we could use in our back bar, and then we can sell in our retail. Actually, it's quite affordable if you look at the cost per unit versus buying it offline or buying it through another wholesaler. But you just have to buy a lot of it, which is a lot. $150,000 is a lot of it.
Dana, who wins the race, the tortoise or the hare?
I don't know. It depends on the terrain, I guess, the climate. I don't know. There's a lot of factors in the race. If it's raining, I don't know. Fire, I don't know.
The reason I ask you that question, it's not meant to be a trick question, is the answer is it depends. Sometimes the tortoise wins and sometimes the hare wins.
That's what Dana said.
Ultimately, you have to decide how you want to run the race. So for me, I chose, and Lauren's known me for, 15 years, Lauren?
Something like that.
And Lauren watched me sweat my business out for years and years and years and grind it out and sweat payrolls and every kind of cash flow trick you can ever imagine in the world, and then some more, do this and do that. And you know what? I did it and I got through it, and now we're doing great. And it was in torture, but I still control my company. I chose the slow lane. I had friends, and Lauren saw me through some of this, that were raising private equity and venture capital and going 100,000 miles a minute and raising tens of millions of dollars at a time, in my opinion, screwing small businesses left, right, center in the process, building fintech companies. Sometimes I'd walk into their fancy offices in San Francisco or Manhattan, and I would say, what the hell's the matter with me? That tension would give me angst. And yet I chose to stick to my guns and bootstrap my way through it. And I'm glad I did. So there are different ways for you to go about building your business. And let's talk about it. But if you want to be the tortoise, in my opinion, you've got to pick no more than 2 to start proving your concept. And you've got to slow down and be okay with that choice. And the 2 that I think you've got to pick are Fayetteville and Dallas, if you can get both done, and put everything else in the parking lot. If you don't want to do that, in my opinion, and you want to do it all, you've got to go try to raise equity and likely give up control of your company today. And that is the decision that you have to make. I'll tell you a story, and it's in my first book, The Growth Dilemma. Early on in my practice, a woman called who had built supposedly or purportedly the world's greatest horse shampoo. And some jerk who is up to me and have him arrested had taken the only $40,000 she had to her name to write a beautiful business plan that I think weighed more than my newborn. And she was goddamn determined that she needed $5 million to build her factory and hire her management team so she could start selling her product. And I said to her, have you sold anything yet? And she said, I can't sell until I have my factory and my equipment. And I said, no disrespect, but you've got to rip up that business plan. And you got to go find a co-packing facility. And you got to start going knocking on doors and see if people are interested in buying your product. And start getting some cash flow. You're years away from having a factory. My opinion about your dilemma is it's the fastest path to cash flow and the most reasonable ask. The most reasonable ask from a lender is enough money for some combination of Fayetteville and Dallas and put everything else in the parking lot if you want to stay in control. And then you'll slowly add it later to debt or equity, but you'll start to have cash flow going. If you don't do that, which is fine, and you want to do it all at once or all much faster, go look for an investor and be ready to give up control of your company and work for the man or the woman. That, in my opinion, is the choice you have to make now. And we can talk about how to get the SBA loan and this and that and the other, but it's sort of binary in my opinion. If you want to keep in control and do it on your own, got to be willing to take pieces of your vision and put them on ice for now.
I have a question. So in regards to the SBA loan, let's say I get a decision and the decision is no. What would you recommend that I do to get Fort Bragg funded?
Well, let's be clear of the first thing. If PNC says no, that doesn't mean you're disqualified for an SBA loan. That means that PNC said no. Respectfully, I sort of have disdain for big banks. There are many much more aggressive SBA lenders out there other than PNC. And if I were you, I wouldn't just be waiting for PNC to give you an answer. I'd put some more feelers out in the water and see who bites. But it's very important when you present to a lender, you're telling a story. You're telling a different story to a lender than an investor. Lenders manage risk and investors buy dreams. And when you're talking to the lender, you want to prove to them or have proof that you expect to be cash flowing in a few months. And it's about the first one or two stores. There might be more later, but you tell a lender that your goal is to be a $30 million business that's going to lose $18 million in the next 12 months. They're going to throw you out of the water.
The road, yeah.
You've got to pick a narrow lane, minimal risk, and stay focused.
Ami, what else would you need to know from Dana to assess whether she is a good bet to get an SBA loan, whether from her current bank or from someone else?
The question would be, does Dana have decent credit?
I do.
Are her personal tax returns current?
They are.
Does Dana own a house or own any real estate or have any collateral to offer up?
I don't.
I'm not worried about the house, but I'm worried about, is there good credit?
Yep, I'm in the 750s and higher.
You have an existing loan, right? In any IDL?
I do, yes.
Yeah, that's not going to mess anything up. It's about presenting the story to a lender in a way that speaks their language and going to a lender who's okay with projection-based loans and likes Dana's story.
How do you find that bank, Ami?
I'm not here to sell my services. We're happy to help if you like. People can go and research top SBA lenders in the country and stuff like that, reach out to them individually. I would not wait in the black hole somewhere in PNC for them to make a decision for you. People make that mistake all the time. They assume their bank is the SBA, and it's not. PNC is one of 1,400 banks or so in the country that does SBA loans. Who says they're the best for you?
But I mean, I was surprised to hear you say that much depends on the story you tell the bank. I thought the story was more for a potential investor and that banks were more interested in cold, hard numbers. You're suggesting that there are banks that take other factors into account. Can you give us any guidance?
Let me clarify about that.
Please.
It's what you tell them. If you present a projection-based loan to a bank and you say to them, we're going to grow from $0 to $10 million in 12 months, and we're going to lose $4 million this year, but it's going to be okay because in 3 years we'll be worth $100 million. They're not going to read past page 1 of your application. If you say to a bank, we're going to open 1 or 2 stores, these are the investments, this is how long it will take us to be cash flow positive, these are our historical experiences in Detroit, here's our relationship with the Army and what they've committed to marketing for us, et cetera, et cetera. And we expect to be profitable in 4 months. And we're not going to be a $10 million business in 12 months. We'll be an $800,000 business or a $600,000 business in 12 months. It's going to make $75,000. It starts to be language they can understand. But that's if Dana puts into a business plan to a bank, I need money for this cool technology and I'm going to build these apps and these great products and we're going to launch them nationally and we're going to do this and I have this franchise consultant going and this and that. They're going to smell a rat. That's not the language in general that banks understand. And it's not that that language or that plan is wrong. But if you want to take that plan, Dana, which is fine, go find an investor.
You're absolutely right. And when it came time for putting our business plan together for the SBA, we kept it solely on Fort Bragg. All this other stuff. And I agree with you about putting in the parking lot, putting on ice, the products, the technology, and the franchise marketing. But here's how I define ICE. I'm not going to not pursue it because I understand getting this funding. Let's say somebody gave me $250,000 tomorrow for franchise marketing. It's still going to take time to put the team together, to generate the content, to get the exhibit booth ready, to get that designed. All of that takes time. So that to me is putting it on hold. We are not out the gate selling or awarding franchises. And we're not actively doing it right now because there's other things we're doing, which is Fort Bragg and the Dallas location. It's the same thing with the products. However, I would say that once we get the military up and running, products should be right behind it because of their interest and eagerness to get me on their shelves in other exchanges.
I got it. And you can add things and evolve things every 3 or 6 months.
Okay.
But imagine how you'd feel if you were cash flowing. In my opinion, your first objective should be to be cash flowing.
That's it. I agree.
You're making some money.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Then you can go to your bank and say, hi, guys. Hi, ladies. Look at it. Here's where we are in 6 months, and here's our profit, and we're making our payments, no problem. Now I'd love to add this piece to it, and I need a little bit more money. What do you say?
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's the priority. And that it's so much a priority. It was, get your head out of the woods, Dana. What do you need to do to make money? And if that means you need to move your Detroit location to Dallas, understanding that market, doing your homework, which I've been doing for months, then that was the decision I made instead of trying to just make it work here.
What are you still paying your franchise consultant?
I'm not. They've been paid.
Good. Dump that for now. You're not ready to franchise this thing until you have a proven model of being profitable.
I agree. And quite honestly, they would agree with you too. They said, a franchisor should not be able to sleep at night if they're trying to sell franchises to somebody when they're not profiting. So they're on the same page with me.
Okay. My advice to you is add another 2 or 3 lenders to your mix, focused on Fort Bragg and Dallas as your business plan.
Ami, how helpful is the military contract to date?
I think it's totally helpful because it's so much more, at least from my perspective, it's a much more interesting story. Well, she's got this contract and it's unique and it's a captive market and they're going to do the marketing. And
with the potential to open on other bases as well.
Potential to open on other bases.
We're already working on the Germany contracts.
Oh my gosh, you got to slow down.
Well, see, here's the thing. Yes, but it doesn't mean that Germany's opening next year. These contracts take time.
I get it. And I know all I'm saying is that when I started my first company 28 years ago, I don't know, in the dot-com bubble days, and I got my first meeting with investors. And I stayed up in my apartment for 2 nights, and I built this incredible business plan. And it was one of those, we're going to be $100 million business plan. And I was convinced I needed $2 million. And we sat down. A friend of mine is now, even though we lost that company, he'd become a great mentor of mine. He ripped up my business plan. He said, tell me what you can do with $250,000. I looked at him like he was stone crazy.
I love it.
And I actually ended up selling them 40% of my company, I think, for $250,000. And it didn't work out, which is okay. In my opinion, your single most important objective right now, Dallas and Fort Bragg open and cash flowing. Period.
I agree.
Dana, is that completely making sense to you?
It is Waterford crystal clear. And it's like he read my journal. Like up at 5 o'clock in the morning and, when you can't sleep, you whip out your journal and you write this down. And this is what's in there. My goal, and I'm so passionate about it, I'm packing up here and I'm going there and going to watch that and make sure. Sometimes people say, well, do you feel that opening in Detroit was a mistake? No, I had 9 years to get my sea legs. And I'm opening differently than I did when I was opening both Midtown and in Southfield. We're starting marketing before we're even done building out the space and getting, trying to drive traffic. We're trying to get, press on board so we can generate buzz. When I opened, it was, I've opened. Oh, now I've got to tell people, hand out some flyers, right? I just got back from there about a week ago. Again, setting things up, looking things over, getting to know the landlord, looking at the space. And so this is a different Dana than it was back in 2012. And I didn't want my ego to get in the way and say, well, it should be able to run without me being there. No, I'm starting over and I'm and privileged to be able to do so. A lot of people, when a unit doesn't work, they have to just, pack it up. I don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, in essence, down to Dallas and make sure that it starts running.
Let me challenge you on one thing, and sorry for being pushy, but you said to me before that picking between Dallas and Fort Bragg, you would pick Dallas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It can make more money.
Why?
Because it's open to a larger market.
That may or may not be true, because Fort Bragg, you might be able to charge more.
Not at all.
Okay, I don't know.
Because exchanges, that's the beauty of the exchange. They pride themselves of being at cheaper price than what you would get off base.
Okay, but it's a captive market.
Right.
And it's potentially a more scalable market. And it's potentially a market that you can scale without having to franchise.
There are a lot of people in that base, right, Dana?
So for my market, there's 79,000 women on base. But the work of that is on-base hair salons have never been well received. They don't trust them. So we have to kind of start from behind, and work our way forward. Whereas in Dallas, 40,000 of my market are within a 5-mile radius of my door.
Yeah. How many other salons are within a 5-mile radius of your door also?
None that do what we're doing. And I don't mean to be exclusive, but none that cater to African-American women. None. The next one is about 10 miles away. Maybe 20 miles away.
And how important is that it caters to an African-American woman?
Hair is segregated. Black women don't go where white women go. White women don't go where black women go. And there's nothing in that area for my market.
How do you find the next Dallas? My only point is you could do a great store in Dallas, but then you got the challenges of franchising, which is really hard. And if you can get the military base right, suddenly you can scale that and stay in control of that and potentially not have to franchise.
Right.
Maybe you don't have to choose, and maybe you can do both. But I challenge you to think about if you had to choose one and you were going to focus, because there's a great discipline and focus and really launching one versus the other. I challenge you to think about which one is smarter to focus on.
I think it's the corporate locations. I've thought about it. You mean over the military versus the corporate locations?
Correct.
I think it's the corporate locations. I think with the military, it's great, and I think we'll make money, but I think we are capped. We're also thinking about people and families that are deployed. There's a lot of movement on bases, right? So the person that was your customer 4 months ago isn't your customer anymore because that person's husband just got shipped to North Dakota. or this person's wife just got shipped to North Dakota.
How many locations could Dallas tolerate?
Dallas could do 5 to 10, but I'd like to keep it on the smaller side and do 5.
Is there any part of you that would like to push back on Ami's encouraging you to go the slow path? Are you at all still interested in trying to find an investor and do more of this and do it more quickly?
Yeah, I think pushback is a hard word because he's saying, if I hear him correctly, he's saying slow and steady wins the race. I don't disagree with him. In 10 years, I don't know if I want to own Paralee Boyd. I really don't think I do. I think I want to build it so I can sell it. I don't mind being 20% owner of a $100 million company. I don't mind that. Because the goal is to sell it and maybe be retained if I'm qualified to be the CEO of it with a CEO salary. But I'm 45 now and I'm looking at, the ripe old age, of 55, saying, okay, what do you want to do? I don't know if I want to keep going at this clip. And I will preface this by saying, this could change. I'll be honest, my Detroit time bruised me, battered me a little bit, and I'm nervous. I've got Detroit baggage. But it's because I opened in a market that wasn't as dense. We don't have 1 million people here in Detroit.
Here's the thing. In business, we're constantly making decisions. And if we're lucky, we're right 51% of the time. I can't tell you how many decisions that looking in the rearview mirror over the years have made that in retroactively, I think were the wrong decisions. But I don't cry over my spilled milk. I try to learn from them, but you make decisions, you move on. Quit crying over Detroit. You learn. It's okay.
Yep, that's it. I agree.
My only advice is pick your lane, decide which way you're most comfortable with, and then go make it happen. If you are going to spend your time hunting for investors and for $5 million of investors from one investor and then a $250,000 loan from lenders, you're not going to do either well. So it's what do you want to do for the next 6 to 12 months? And if you're, say, I'd rather be cash flowing and have more proof of concept before I go out to investors, then just stop worrying about it. Focus on the lenders and get it done. If you say, you know what, go big, I'm going home. Stop looking for lenders and start focusing on the investors and building your plan accordingly. But where people get, I think, confused or stuck is if they can't get out of the mush. And whatever you pick, God bless. It's not my place to say what you pick, but I'm encouraging you to pick and focus.
All right. My thanks to Dana White. Dana, as always, thanks for being so open with sharing all the details with your journey. I appreciate it. I know our listeners do too. And Ami Kassar, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. This was really helpful, really enlightening.
Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN@21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.